All right, guys, we're going to start the show shortly. Hit that like button for me. Do me a favor and like the show. Whatever social platform you're watching the show upon, hit the like button, share it with your friends, retweet it. Tag a friend, share it to your page. A lot we're going to cover today on the I Love CVille show. We love connecting with you guys through this platform. Did you guys know that Virginia was ranked the top state for business? We'll talk about that on today's program. Virginia ranked the top state for business. We'll also talk about some Fashion Square Mall details that we got from Keith Smith on Real Talk this morning. Keith Smith, a man in the know. I'm proud to call him my friend, Keith Smith. Missing food concepts from Charlottesville. We'll brainstorm some concepts that are missing from the Charlottesville food scene. Pickleball is booming. You know I play a ton of racket sports, racquetball, squash, pickleball, a new love. We'll talk about pickleball and the impact it's going to have on Central Virginia on today's program. If you like pickleball, this is the show for you, boys and girls. We will also talk South Richmond Casino, the casino for Southern Richmond being delayed, and we'll catch up with friend of the program, CEO of Emergent Financial Services, Alex Erpy, on today's show. A lot we're going to cover on the I Love CVille program. Give it a like, give it a share anywhere you are watching. We will have a good time. Johnny Ornalis and Bill McKenzie, welcome to the broadcast. Love you guys, Johnny Ornalis and Bill McKenzie. Thank you for being so supportive of all our shows, frankly speaking. Dan Harlan, welcome to the broadcast. A lot we're going to cover today, my friends. We'll start in about, 15 seconds or so. J-Dubs, how you looking? Okay. I'm ready to rock in 15 seconds. Hello, South Carolina, and welcome to the show. We love our friends outside Charleston that watch the program. Our friends outside Hendersonville, North Carolina, watching the broadcast. Welcome, Hendersonville, to the show. Of course, we got Crozet, Charlottesville, Ivy, and Northern Virginia on the program. You guys are good people. Thank you for your support and telling folks about the show. J-Dubs, I can rock and roll in T-minus 10 seconds. Good Tuesday afternoon, guys. My name is Jerry Miller, and welcome to the I Love CVille show. Thank you for joining us on a gorgeous day to be alive. We are live in Charlottesville, the Commonwealth, the country, and the world on the I Love CVille network. We're presented by Scott Wagner of Scott Wagner Integrated Medicine. Dr. Wagner has your back. Dr. Wagner and his team changing people's lives at Scott Wagner Integrated Medicine. Of course, the fantastic people at Ting Fiber Internet, the power behind the I Love CVille network. Crazy fast internet, Ting Fiber Internet. Here's a rundown of topics we are going to cover today. Virginia's been ranked the top state for business. We will talk about that on the show. We will compare and contrast Fashion Square Mall to the Dewberry Hotel and the futures that both have in Charlottesville and Albemarle County. We got tremendous insight from Keith Smith of Yes Realty Partners on the tangled web that is Fashion Square Mall. I asked him, over under 10 years before we see performance activity or a place for customers to go support and spend their money at Fashion Square Mall. Would he take the over or under of 10 years? And he says he'll take the over of 10 years before Fashion Square Mall becomes anything of tangible substance for Central Virginia. More on that on the I Love CVille show. I want to brainstorm some missing food concepts here in Charlottesville and Central Virginia. What are concepts from a food standpoint that we should have in this town, in this region, that are currently not there? We'll have that conversation on the I Love CVille show. We will also talk the fastest growing sport in America. It is pickleball, and it's not even close. Pickleball, boys and girls, the fastest growing sport. It's on the front page of the Daily Progress. There's a private club in Greencroft that's trying to become the epicenter. Pickleball taking market share away from tennis. We'll analyze the future of pickleball in this region on the I Love CVille show. We have news from Richmond, Virginia, South Richmond to be exact, in a casino that's probably going to be the closest one to us, and an opening date, perhaps, for said casino in South Richmond. Alex Erpy on today's program in about 14 minutes. The lead of the program has got to be the Commonwealth of Virginia being ranked the top state for business in 2021. You heard me correctly. Virginia, it's on CNBC right now. I'm looking at it on the television. I'm reading it on my MacBook in front of me. A strong workforce and a solid education system has propelled Virginia to its second straight win in CNBC's state competitive rankings for business. Virginia has captured top honors 5 times, more than any other state in the CNBC competition. It's the first state to notch back-to-back wins for the top state to do business in the United States of America. Maryland was this year's most improved state, while Oregon posted the biggest decline. Alaska finished dead last. The 2021 CNBC study features multiple changes to account for a vastly altered competitive landscape coming out of the pandemic. So, boys and girls, the Old Dominion captures top honors, just as it did in 2019. It is Virginia's 5th win since the study began in 2007. More than any other state, the Commonwealth of Virginia ranked the top in the country for doing business. It is the first state to post back-to-back victories. Remember, CNBC did not do these rankings last year due to COVID. So they won in 2019, the Commonwealth. We won in 2021. Virginia pulls off the repeat performance despite a vastly altered competitive landscape. This is a testament to a number of things in the Commonwealth. I will try to outline why I think Virginia is the top state to do business, not in any particular order. First, we got to talk about the colleges in the Commonwealth. The University of Virginia, Virginia Tech, William & Mary, James Madison University, Hampton-Sydney College, Lynchburg, Liberty, you name it. The schools in the Commonwealth are phenomenal. In fact, I'm going to go out on a limb and say, my son, and my wife is watching right now, I would like to say, son, if you'd like to go to college, your father and your mother may restrict you to the fantastic institutions within the Commonwealth. Of course, that's going to help us from an in-state tuition standpoint, but when you have so many good options in your home state, why consider the out-of-state cost or the out-of-state burden that comes with going to colleges outside of your respective state? That being said, if my son said to me when he was 17 or 18, Dad, I want to go work for the family business, Dad, I want to go to a trade school, Dad, I want to pursue like you did, being an entrepreneur and starting a business, I would very much support my son in those endeavors. Eventually, the college model is got to do a complete 180, because 22-year-olds being saddled with 6-figure plus debt coming out of college because of tuition being through the roof, that's not a sustainable model. But I digress. The lead of the show, and this is something you're going to see in the newspaper and the TV stations tonight. This is something that you'll see in multiple media platforms. The lead of the show is the Commonwealth of Virginia, ranked as the top state to do business in the country. I'm going to outline why I think that is. I think number one is undoubtedly the universities in Virginia. They are bona fide. They are robust. I mean, did you know Liberty University has the second most online students in its college, meaning students learning from a computer, learning digitally, remotely through the internet, and not in person on campus. Liberty University has the second most students that are learning in the capacity. You know what's number one? College focusing on online learning. You know who's number one? What college? The University of Phoenix is number one. Liberty University is number two. So I say the universities and the robust aspect of the universities is why Virginia is one of the top-ranked states to do, is the top-ranked state to do business. I also think the Commonwealth offers a little bit of, life for everyone. You got the mountains for outdoor enthusiasts. You got Virginia Beach for the ocean front and water enthusiasts. You got DC, you got Va Beach, you got Hampton and Norfolk for folks that like big city, Northern Virginia for folks like the big cities. You got towns like Charlottesville that have less than 50,000 people in it for folks that want some intimacy and some charm and some community. So you got a great eclectic mix of urban, suburban, and remote environments. And the beautiful thing since we've come out of the pandemic is this concept of being able to work from anywhere. That concept of working from an ISP is gaining tremendous momentum and has tailwinds behind it. So if you can work from anywhere, from an ISP, basically being a digital nomad, you're a digital nomad in that scenario. Why wouldn't you go to a state that has low cost of living? Why would you not flood away from the Connecticuts, the New Yorks, the Long Islands, and the Californias of the world and go to a Commonwealth of Virginia where your cost of living is 25, 35, 45% less than the states that I just mentioned? The cost of living and the quality of life is undoubtedly one of the reasons why Virginia is the top state to do business with in the country. Furthermore, look at the vaccination rates. The vaccination rates in the Commonwealth are pretty damn strong. Ralph Northam, love him or hate him, this guy has led a pretty good charge for Virginia from a COVID vaccination standpoint. The world's newspaper, the New York Times, says Charlottesville and Albemarle County are the top place to vacation on the eastern seaboard because of the very impressive vaccination rates in Albemarle County, number one in Virginia, Albemarle, Charlottesville, number three in Virginia, the city. So when you got people with the needle in their arms, folks feel safe to walk around and support businesses and spend money with them. Another reason Virginia is ranked the top state to do business. Going into the pandemic and coming out of it, Virginia's greatest strength has been its ability to nurture and retain talent. Public schools perform well in terms of test scores in Virginia, and there's a world-class higher education system reliably funded in Virginia. Furthermore, Virginia employers reap the benefits with one of the best educated workforces in the country. Nearly 39% of workers have a bachelor's degree or higher, according to the U.S. Census Bureau. Virginia also boasts the nation's third highest concentration of science, technology, engineering, and math STEM workers, according to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. Education, Governor Ralph Northam said, is the best tool we have to make our Commonwealth a better, more equitable place for everyone. He said that January 13th in the State of the Commonwealth address. So boys and girls, let's do the round of applause. Commonwealth of Virginia, the top state to do business, 2 years running. 2 years running. I am a proud Virginian. A proud Virginian. I am proud to be from the Commonwealth. Proud to be from the Commonwealth. Perhaps one day represent the Commonwealth from a political standpoint. One day. Now, I just got a text from my good friend Keith Smith. He said, Bodo's Bagels is back to inside ordering, no dining in, and you need a mask. Thank you, Keith, for that tip. We did know that. No drive-through, takeout only, and you need a mask at the Bodo's Bagels locations. Bodo's is opening a fourth location that's drive-through only. I wonder where that fourth location is going to be. All right, new topic. Alex Erpy in about 5 minutes, guys. So I'm going to be efficient and focused here. On Real Talk this morning, it's a show we do with Keith Tuesdays and Fridays at 10:15 a.m. I sat next to someone I trust in Keith, who is the source of the source. He contacted his friends in the title business, and he explained how convoluted Fashion Square Mall is from an ownership standpoint, from a land lease standpoint, from a tenant standpoint. I asked Keith if you had to put the over-under at 10 years before we see tangible results with Fashion Square Mall for Central Virginia to enjoy some kind of commerce or business at that footprint, at that location, would you take the under or the over at 10 years? He thought about it, and he said, I think it's going to be more than 10 years of issues, of slow moving, of nothing happening at the footprint and the site of Fashion Square Mall. More than 10 years. The albatross around Albemarle County's neck, one of them, there's multiple ones of them, frankly speaking, but Fashion Square Mall is going to be an albatross around Albemarle County's neck for years to come. Fashion Square Mall is the here, I'll do an analogy for you. Let's bust out the SATs here. Fashion Square Mall is to Albemarle County as the Dewberry Hotel is to the city of Charlottesville. I asked Keith, what will we see developed and finished first? The Dewberry Hotel or the Fashion Square Mall? And he says the Dewberry Hotel, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. You have multiple family members that own the dirt at Fashion Square Mall. I see the title research that he did. He asked me not to name the family. I will respect Keith because I have tremendous respect for him and won't name the family that owns the dirt. I will say if you want to do some research online, it's not difficult to find out which family owns it. And I will also say the family name that owns this is a big one that's in real estate sales in this market. I will leave it at that. The family that owns the dirt is a big one in real estate sales in Central Virginia, and I will leave it at that. So boys and girls, here's what we got in the nutshell. And this is a great conversation for cocktail parties, for dinner parties, for Fridays after 5, for just social outings on the tennis courts, the pickleball courts, the racquetball courts, the squash courts, the platform tennis courts, or the golf course. What's going to get developed first? The Dewberry Hotel or Fashion Square Mall? Great conversation starter right there. What's going to happen this Friday at the steps of the Albemarle County Courthouse at 1 o'clock when Fashion Square Mall goes to auction? Keith thinks nothing. I'm going to be there at 1 o'clock on Friday because that's history. Just like I was there for A12 2017, just like we were there on Saturday for the removal of those statues, Fashion Square Mall was built in 1980. 1980. 41 years it's been in this community. A structure that's 570,000 square feet, Fashion Square Mall, 570,000 square feet, is getting auctioned at the steps of Albemarle County Circuit Court. That's history. I will be there firsthand to experience that history. A couple conversation starters for you at the cocktail party I just rattled off. I think we're going to see a structure, and I learned from my friend Keith, I think we're going to see a structure that's going to slowly crumble, lose its structural integrity, erode, and become an albatross around the neck of Albemarle County and its local elected officials. Our next topic, this is a topic tied to yesterday's show. Yesterday's show, do you still have Stu Rifkin's Craigslist listing, Judah? The screenshot that you can put on screen? Stu Rifkin, I like Stu. Stu, I like you. I enjoy seeing you at the 19th hole. I enjoy seeing you around the neighborhood, around the downtown mall. I love your pep. I love your chutzpah. I love your hustle, your vision. And I love your connectedness within this community. Big fan of Stu Rifkin. In fact, been seeing Stu on and off since I launched my business 13 plus years ago. Stu is probably the top business broker, individual who is involved with business-to-business sales in the area. Charlie K-Bash did a lot of business brokerage deals, but K-Bash Charlie has since moved to Florida. So Stu's probably the top business broker in this area. Let me know if you have that screenshot, J-Dubs. And if you do, give me a thumbs up when it's on screen. If not, no big deal. Stu's got, okay, thank you, Judah. Stu's got a listing that's on Craigslist. And I'll read it to you. I put it all over the I Love CVille network. This is good, Stu, for your listing here. It's gaining interest. This is good for your listing, your business deal here. Okay, this is free marketing promotion to drive up interest and marketplace demand for this business brokerage deal that you're trying to do. The listing is long-standing. Okay, it's on screen. For those that are watching the show, look at the screen now. Look at the screen now. Look at the screen now. I'll read the copy for those that are listening via Spotify, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts or at their desk. Long-standing and outstanding bakery, cafe, and caterer for sale. The owner is retiring. Decades of sales nearing $2 million annually. Wow. Business only, no real estate for sale here, but long-term lease with the current landlord awaits. Confidential, must sign a non-disclosure agreement. Best location in town. My prediction, and I don't know for sure, I'm strictly guessing. My prediction, this is hotcakes. Hotcakes in Barracks Road Shopping Center. A lot of other people have thought Paradox Pastry. I don't think Jenny's going to do that. And I also don't think the glass building where Paradox is at is the best location in town. I think Barracks Road is the best location in town. A lot of people talking Chandler's. Chandler's doesn't have the inside seating, the cafe piece. I don't think it's Chandler's. Some people saying CVille Coffee. CVille Coffee is an interesting thing. I don't think Twan's selling his business. And I wouldn't say McIntyre, where CVille Coffee is located, is the best place in town. I don't think that's the best place to do business in town, or the best location in town, as Stu wrote it in the copy. I hate to say this. Actually, I take that back. I don't hate to say this. The only reason I said I hate to say this is because Federal Realty, a publicly traded company, owns Barracks Road Shopping Center and not a local landlord that we like to support. I think Barracks is undoubtedly the best retail location in Charlottesville, the best retail location in Albemarle County, and the best retail location in Central Virginia. I want somebody on this feed, whether you're watching on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, Snapchat, YouTube, any of the social platforms, I want somebody on this feed to make a legitimate argument against Barracks Road being the best location for retail in Central Virginia. What can compete with Barracks Road from a retail sales standpoint? I don't think anything can. I think the second best place to do business in Central Virginia is the downtown mall. I think the delta or the gap between Barracks, number one, and the downtown mall, number two, is a large gap. And I hate to say this because I own real estate downtown. I think third best place to do business in Central Virginia, is it Stonefield? I mean, 3 is completely up in the air. You can make a legitimate argument for a number of spots in the 3 slot. I think Barracks Road is a clear-cut 1. I think Downtown Mall is a clear-cut 2. Difficult to argue with me in those scenarios. 3, 4, and 5, that's totally up for grabs. You can make a legitimate argument that Ludwig Kutner and Alan Kajin at Ix Park have the third best location for retail, for people spending their money. Ix Park is effing booming right now. I mean, effing booming right now, Ix Park. In fact, I'm going to ask you that, Alex, when I reach out to you. Best locations for business. I'm curious of what your take, Alex Erpy. I'm going to reach out to you in a matter of minutes here. I know I'm late, Alex. I got to stay more on point. I apologize, my friend. I'm sorry, Alex. I'm sorry. 2 other topics. You know what? I'm going to save the other topics to after the interview with Alex, because I have respect for this man and his time. Alex Erpy, CEO of Emergent Financial Services, about to come on the show. This dude is a smart guy. Emergent Financial Services is the trusted name in the game. Emergent Financial Services is the business you want managing your money if you want to see return on investment and you want to grow your wealth. Emergent Financial Services. CEO Alex Erpy on the line. Que pasa, hombre? How are you today?
I'm doing well. How about you?
I'm doing very well. I want to pick this brain. I'm going to get out of your way. Virginia, top state, 2 years running to do business. Your thoughts, my friend?
No, definitely. I would echo what you said. I'll even throw a shout out, as you mentioned, the education system. I think where we were highest as a state in that ranking was education, your quality of life, your workforce. Definitely want to shout out PVCC, among the great, I think, college institutions. I think we have a great community college system here in Virginia, as well as just the 4-year institutions that you mentioned at the open of the show. Interesting thing, as I was doing a little digging into where Virginia ranked on all the metrics that make up CNBC's ranking of top states to do business, the two where Virginia was in the bottom half of the country are actually the ones that you and I have discussed frequently on the show, which are cost of doing business and cost of living. So interesting to see where we have room for improvement. That obviously where Virginia's providing a lot of great workers, a lot of educated workforce. As you mentioned, a beautiful place. The combination of, especially, I mean, I'm thinking Charlottesville here, but I think this applies to a lot of places in Virginia. Combination of natural beauty with things to do, things to see, sporting events, your lectures, your music, your symphonies. So I think all that's there. Question is, can we make it a little bit more affordable for our business owners to be here and a little bit more affordable for our people to live here?
Okay. I'm going to throw this to you. I'm going to counter. We know we have an affordability issue. But is affordability relative when comparing it across 50 other states? Because you and I both know that, like, my brother lives in Los Angeles. He works for Snapchat. Okay. He's got like a, 1,900 square foot home. He and his wife, 2 kids. The price tag, and I'm not going to say it because I respect my brother too much. The price tag he paid for this home, people in Charlottesville their jaw would be on the ground. New York. My in-laws are from Long Island. My wife spent 8 years at Blackstone living in the city. I mean, she's making 6 figures at Blackstone, living in the Big Apple, yet still has to have 2 other roommates to keep the rent in check because it was that expensive. And that was years ago. So I guess affordability is relative, right?
Oh, it is. So I'm thinking our ranking among the states. So I think CNBC was saying we were 31st, not too bad, on cost of living. And I think 26th, so right on the lower half of cost of doing business. So we're still in the middle there. Just interesting to see where we did really well and where, because I think we edged. I'm always a competitive guy, so I think we edged North Carolina by 41 points on that ranking.
Wow!
So I'm just always thinking like, okay, how can we boost this lead next year, and just keep growing.
Alex Erpy, our guest guy, CEO of Emergent Financial Services. This is the firm you want managing your wealth and your money, Emergent Financial Services. Fashion Square Mall intrigued you. You were listening to Real Talk this morning. I will get out of your way. Fashion Square Mall, anywhere you want to go.
A very educational experience. I even learned about, a new species of duck.
Oh, yeah.
Called the cluster duck. That goes quack, quack. But very entertaining, really enjoying, and just I learned a lot about how that mall works. And just interesting to see from a perspective of, I feel like there's so much potential in Charlottesville and Albemarle for businesses. We have just such a great area to do it. And just really interesting to see things like the Fashion Square Mall and that hotel on the downtown mall.
The Dewberry.
Right? That's sort of just, it's a shame that there's just those two, they have these big things that tend to really catch a lot of negative attention and draw away from all the good things that happen and all the inspiring business stories that are out there. And it's interesting because I was listening also to Keith and yourself yesterday on I Love Seville, mentioning how for those of us who live in Charlottesville, we kind of just walk by that now on downtown mall, and you forget it's there sometimes. But it's interesting because I had a friend of a friend who, total outsider to Charlottesville, who had passed by here recently. And my friend told me that he said his initial reaction was pretty harsh. And he said, as a total outsider who had never been to Charlottesville before, he went downtown, saw that building, and said, this place looks like a dump. And I'm like, that's so unfortunate because we want to have that great impression for people that have never been here before. And I think it's tempting as people who live here to be like, oh, well, I'm used to it now. But it does make an impression. So it would be nice just to see. I'm hoping that, I think Keith probably knows this way better than I do. But I'm really hoping he's wrong with the 10-year number.
Right, I know.
Because it would be nice to just see two things that have just drawn so much negative attention sort of resolved at long last, so that we can then say, all right, what's coming up now? Like what are the really great stories coming out of Downtown Mall and coming out of other areas in Charlottesville, rather than, oh, we have to hear about this again. But it's in the news. I mean, and if we're hearing about it outside, people who aren't from Charlottesville are going to hear about it and see it when they come visit.
I'll throw this to you. How long has the Earpy family been in the Charlottesville area?
So we've been here since 2008, so we're doing 13 years now.
Okay, so 13 years now. My question for you, which location, the Dewberry Hotel or Fashion Square Mall, has the biggest visible or perception or negative impact on the marketplace? What do you think?
My thinking is the hotel more so, because I'm going to be honest, even though I've known that the mall was declining in the entire 13 years that we've been here, we still go there occasionally. We'll go to the Belt if we need something there. And you don't really see it. Like, you can drive by that entrance to Fashion Square Mall, and it actually looks pretty nice. That if you didn't actually drive into the mall, you would know that there had been less and less stores there, and that there was less and less foot traffic there. Whereas, I mean, from the moment that went up, for the first few years that hotel was there in Downtown Mall, we really couldn't believe that it wasn't being finished. As people were just coming from a different part of the country, we were like, what do you mean that hotel is going to stay that way? Like, what do you mean it's empty and it's stuck empty and no one can do anything about it? And it worries me a little bit. I mean, you and Keith touched on this yesterday with the concrete and the rebar. Especially given what happened in Miami, that I know is in a lot of people's minds. That's something to think about. That at what point do you sit there and say...
Are you talking Surfside, Florida?
Surfside, yeah. The Surfside building there. That was, a lot of people are talking about the concrete and the rebar there. There are reports out of Florida that it wasn't looking good. Whether or not that led to the collapse, the concrete and the rebar there were not looking good, even beforehand. So you sit there and say, at what point do we sit here as people in Charlottesville and say, is it safe to have a building completely exposed on the downtown mall where people are walking by on a daily basis? So that one, I think we just as a family notice more than the Fashion Square Mall. And I think as someone coming from outside Charlottesville, you could drive by the downtown mall on 29 and never notice. But you really can't go downtown and not notice.
Well said. Alex, let me say this. Let's say Alex Earpy has a magic wand. And this magic wand, Alex can sway, and he can do whatever he wants. If you had that magic wand and you could use to do whatever you want with Fashion Square Mall, what would you do?
That's an interesting concept. Tough to say, because I think we have a lot of outdoor malls in Virginia, and I question whether we're in the type of place where an indoor mall makes a lot of sense, because we really have mild winters. We have hot summers, right, where you would enjoy being outside, walking around, but then we do have some other like outdoor malls that we have. So I think the key thing is, I think, to combine, which I've said about a lot of areas. I feel this way about Stonefield. I feel this way about the downtown mall. We got to get to, if we're designing malls here or outdoor areas, you want the combination of places to eat, local businesses, and things to do. And I feel sometimes we're missing the things to do part. Like, there's something that will draw someone downtown or to a Fashion Square Mall or to a Stonefield. So I think basically downtown and Stonefield, you got a movie theater. That's it, right? So if you want to be outdoors, there really is nothing that draws people such that they say, I want to go to the downtown mall or the Fashion Square, eat, and then walk around and do something and stay there for 2-3 hours to get that kind of critical mass of people where it's going to be, I'm going to go there. That's why I love the beer garden idea, because that draws people to the downtown mall for not just an hour to have a meal, but for potentially 2-3 hours. I'm going to have a meal, walk around, stop here, stop there. Maybe would encourage local stores to stay open later. Maybe you might get some cafes that stay open past 10. Because I think from what I can remember, even before pandemic, Millie Joe's and Mud House were the only cafes that stayed open till 10. And after 10, if you wanted to, if you had gone out to dinner with friends at 8 o'clock, wanted to just stay out later, your only choice was a bar. And if you're not a bar crowd like me, you're more of I want to relax in a cafe. I don't really want to sit at a bar and just drink till 11 at night. You really didn't have many options. So I think you could just have so much more potential if we could combine in locations like where Fashion Square Mall is, things to do, maybe some outdoor things, maybe another, mini golf, maybe another just area where you could hang out and enjoy the outdoors, maybe a couple other activities.
Music venues, and just combine them so that you can have a place where people will go and say, yeah, I'm going to eat dinner, I'm going to walk around, see some local stores, and then I'm going to do something. And now you're just benefiting everyone because you're combining and you're cross-pollinating businesses. You've got people that come for an event and now they're going to go out to eat. You've got some people that go out to eat and say, well, now I see some of those stores are open. I'm going to go check them out. You got people that go shopping and say, well, oh, I didn't know that this fun activity was here. Maybe I'll just hang around a little and do this. So I think that cross-pollination could really be something here. So what he's describing, guys, is a lifestyle center. And a lifestyle center is a place where you could potentially live, work, play, eat, and shop. A good example of a lifestyle center that's somewhat close to us is Short Pump. And at Short Pump, you got apartments, you got restaurants, you can go see Santa over the winter. There's activities for kids and families around the Short Pump shopping center. What they don't have is a lot of local brands, and I agree with Alex, you need more local brands. So you would love to see a live, work, play, shop, eat, listen type of concept there.
I think so. I mean, I think Charlottesville is a place where that could really thrive. I think we have a population here that loves, I mean, everyone I talk to in Charlottesville, we love the outdoors. We love our music. We love our just walking around. We love our local businesses. I mean, this place, Charlottesville, really supports local businesses very strongly. I just felt like if we gave more opportunity for that cross-pollination to happen, it would really thrive.
Alex Erpy, CEO of Merchant Financial Services, our guest. Best local spot for business. Is it Barracks Road slam dunk for you?
Ooh. See, this is a challenging one because I'd actually put in a comment right before you went to me.
Oh, you did?
And I think the challenge with Barracks that I found
is the rent.
I know of at least one business is the balance between I do a lot of business at Barracks, but it costs me an arm and a leg to be there. Like the expense to lease there is enormous. And I don't know the numbers there, but I know of at least one business that basically had moved out of there, and just chatting with the owner right before he left was like, yeah, it's just, I'm doing great business. My place is full, but it's too expensive for me to be here. And I've heard similar with Stonefield, there's sort of those rotating spots there. And so, I mean, I think Barrett's is a great spot, especially the side, not North Barrett's, but the side that's on that corner there.
Sure.
And I think to be honest, I think it would be even greater if they somehow managed to make the walk around go all the way around, because you've sort of got that mall part where you can walk and go to the Barnes and Noble, have something to eat. But then a couple of the restaurants are really off on that Emmett Street side where they're kind of isolated and you're just walking around the parking lot to get there. And so I'm wondering if it could even be a better spot if you could literally walk around the whole mall with walkways, maybe some more shops, and that. But I think it's a beautiful spot, probably the top spot. I would have to say, in terms of what I suspect you could get in revenues, probably a top spot in Charlottesville, but I don't know whether the cost outweighs that.
Okay, so let's base it on gross revenues. Gross, that's what I'm basing it on. What is your top five for gross revenues if you're running a business that has to interact with customers?
So I think Barrett's probably number one.
Yeah.
In terms of gross revenues, it's interesting. I suspect, I mean, every time I'm at Stonefield, their parking lots are full.
Okay, so you say Stonefield's too.
I think Stonefield's, maybe not in this order, but just trying to think of them at the top of my head. My suspicion is there's some good gross revenues at Stonefield. Then you've got, this is a good question. You've got me with a challenge question here.
Would you say downtown 3?
I would say downtown.
Okay.
I think so, especially in the summer. And I'd be interested to know what those revenues look like, whether there's a real big fluctuation there. Because just from what I see, just anecdotally and visually, downtown in the summer is packed. Downtown in the winter is like a no man's land.
Yeah, yeah.
You'll walk there and there's nobody there. So I would say downtown. I suspect. Good question. I wonder. I mean, I think X that you mentioned earlier is getting there. I have been very impressed with where X Art Park is going. Just more and more businesses cropping up there. I'm seeing a lot of people. I'm seeing a lot of people just walking around. Not a lot there yet, but I think that has some great potential.
I think with X, and you know, I'm pretty sure this is, in fact, I know this is Ludwig and Alan's plan. Ludwig Kutner and Alan Kajin own X. And they eventually want to build an apartment building on that grassy area that X has. And in that apartment building, you're able to be close to downtown. You're able to walk out of that apartment building at X, and you can go to Three Notch, you can go to Brazos. You have Animal Connection there that can help you for your dogs and your pets. You have the farmer's market. I mean, X is now taken over as the spot for the farmer's market, taken over the farmer's market from the city of Charlottesville. The city of Charlottesville farmer's market compared to the X farmer's market, it's not comparable. X's is way better. Eventually, they would like to do a live, eat, play, listen, maybe not the work piece, although they do have Studio X where people can work remote. Yeah. So that's a co-working space. Thank you. So that is the plan. If an apartment complex is built, and I'm not sure it'll happen in Ludwig's, maybe it'll happen in Ludwig's life, you know, we'll see. But if an apartment is built in X, dude, that place is going to go next level.
You've got an automatic
customer base
group of people that are there. You have automatic customers that are within walking distance, which I think has a great potential there.
So you advise a lot of people. Merchant Financial Services, trust the name of the game. If you're advising a business owner or an entrepreneur, what would your advice be to where to set up shop?
That's a great question. I would probably say, I would say it would depend, I think, on their numbers. I mean, I think if you have a really strong opinion on your revenue projections, and you're thinking, especially if you're thinking holiday rush, Christmas time, Barrett's Mall you can't find parking at Barrett's Mall at Christmas time. So I'm thinking that's a great spot. I think if you're looking, I think if someone would come to me, and I have to say a lot of the business owners were usually advising in terms of getting the most out of businesses that exist to really make sure their retirement is in place, that their projections are in line, that if they're thinking of taking a loan, does this make sense? So a lot of the financial aspects rather than the real estate. But I think that's great for there. I think there's I've been very pleased with what I've seen out of Fifth Street Station. Also, I think for maybe a business that's not looking for, all right, I think I can get huge amounts of retail sales coming in, but I want to just do a decent business. Because I've seen some businesses at Fifth Street Station that have lasted a long time, that I haven't seen too much turnover there. So I'm thinking that there's definitely something being driven there in terms of people, and that local businesses can succeed there as well as the big name brands. So those are some that I'm thinking about.
Good intel from Alex Erpy. How about a market update, my friend?
So it's interesting. I mean, I'm sure everyone has probably seen today consumer prices, highest month over month, 0.9% since 2008. So that's definitely been weighing on the market today. I know it was mixed at the open. I think it was still mixed right before I came on. The Fed hasn't really changed their tune. Interestingly, the White House put out a little statement that they too believe that this is transitory, but it may be quarters rather than months, which is an interesting distinction to make. Because there's transitory, this is going to be done in 3 months. Transitory, this will last 3 quarters. Because then we're talking 2022.
Yeah,
we're talking 2022 with still inflation. So I think it's something to keep an eye on. still a lot of supply. They're still talking a lot of supply side, and we see it here too. I mean, I just took a trip down to Appomattox over the weekend. I love my historical sites, Appomattox Courthouse, the national park. Some of the restaurants down that way, even in Lynchburg area, you're talking like I had a wait time of 35 to 40 minutes.
Get out.
For a place that was not full. And you could see it was staff because there were 2 ginormous hiring now signs outside. And you can't tell me that doesn't have an impact on just where prices come along the supply chain.
You're the expert. I learned from you. You got fuel prices going up. You got a labor shortage, right? We got fuel prices going up. We got a labor shortage. We got folks that completely have changed careers. We got $15 becoming essentially the new minimum wage. I mean, these are all equations and recipes for higher cost of goods, higher labor, and prices that are going to be passed on to you, me, and other consumers that are higher than they were last year. Correct?
Oh, I think so. And I mean, higher than last year is inevitable, right? Because of where last year was. But I think you're right. I mean, there's definitely some headwinds that we're looking at. I guess the big question that I think is going to determine a lot of the economic impact on the country on Main Street. Because again, the stock market, I think, is going to be its own thing. I'm not particularly worried about that because even if you think about it, even if there is inflation, that's all the more reason
to invest in stocks,
to drive retail and institutional investors to
exactly.
Stocks. Because you cannot have your money earning 1% if inflation is at 3%.
That's right.
Right. You need to have a greater return on your investment. Right. But on terms of Main Street impact, the real question I think is going to be which of these headwinds are here to stay and which are here to go. In other words, $15 minimum wage, clearly here to stay. Right. No government, local or federal. I mean, the feds haven't gone to 15, but no local or state government is going to go to a $15 minimum wage and then
drop it,
crank that thing back and say now it's 12.
Right.
It's not happening, right? So that's here to stay. The question is are we talking supply chain issues that can be resolved, or a total workforce changes where we're really just waiting to see if people even come back, or if certain retail and hospitality just go with tech and say, well, I'm just going to replace my people with kiosks and see what happens there. I think a really key point is the one you just made, that part of what lends us to believe this may be transitory is what you mentioned about people changing careers. I think we're also seeing, let's be real, a lot of the feeder for particularly restaurants, right, is your teenager to just entering the workforce. This is my step up, right? I'm really not going to stay in this job, but I'm doing it temporarily to get some money, right? I know for a fact I have cousins that were relatives that were doing that, and who, because of the increased unemployment, are like, well, why would I go back to that? I'm going to basically use this time to stay home and work on my next career. So instead of working part-time at a restaurant to pay my way for my next career, I'm going to collect unemployment for as long as I'm able to pay my way for the next career, which is a totally rational decision in the face of the numbers that are out there, right? So I think my thinking is, as that changes, we may see some of that early employed people going back into that, which I think could be beneficial to the long term. Because if you want a healthy economy, what you really want is you want those lower paying jobs, tip jobs, to be taken by basically teenagers and people just entering the workforce. You don't want underemployed people doing that. You don't want people with bachelor's degrees or working moms to have no choice but to be in retail and hospitality jobs. Like, you want them to be in higher paying jobs. Otherwise, they're underemployed and there's not much flexibility. So I think if we can see that, if we can get out of this, or we can grow that part out, I think we could be in a very good place. We just have to make sure that we're continuing to make sure that these businesses are still there. We don't want to drive the small business owner out because of labor shortages, such that then his jobs aren't there for the future. to hire people that I think would benefit from those jobs and thereby push the wages up for people on the higher end jobs.
Poignant prose from Alex Erpy, CEO of Merchant Financial Services. Thursday's show, 10:15, Today y Mañana.
It's going to be a lot of fun. We have maybe one surprise on the way, but for sure we will have the Seville Biohub joining us.
Nice.
So for those who know Emergent, we're really big on biotech, always investigating new technologies, we do it on the investment side, but it also fascinates us just as an individual, because with biotech companies, you're talking companies that are changing the way we live, the way we work, our health, right? And so Charlottesville is a big home to a lot of them, and Seville Biohub is a way for them to connect, network, get the word out there, advocate. And so we're going to talk with a representative from Seville Biohub just to see, sort of get people that watch Today Mañana some information on what's out there, like what kind of interesting companies are here in Charlottesville, what are they doing, how are they connecting with each other, and how can people get connected with them?
I love it. Today y Mañana airs Thursdays at 10:15 a.m. on the I Love Seville network. It stars Alex Erpy and the affable, approachable, and lovable Xavier Yerpy. It is a fantastic show, just a tremendous resource of knowledge for this community. Thank you, Alex, for joining us today.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You have a good afternoon.
You too. My best to Judah. Tell him I said hi.
He says he can't wait for that surprise.
Tell him it won't be a surprise to him.
Okay, Judah, it's not going to be a surprise to you. Judah went like this.
We will not. We won't put one over on poor Judah.
You have a good one, Alex.
You too.
Okay. Judah Windcower is the director of the I Love Seville Network. That guy does a hell of a job directing the show. And Judah, do you like the surprises before the shows happen? Well said. Yeah, they make things interesting, he says. All right, Kevin Higgins has got a good comment. Let's get to Kevin Higgins' comment here. Kevin Higgins says this. Where did that comment go, Kevin Higgins? Kevin Higgins says, when the inn at Afton is replaced, downtown Waynesboro will explode. The wedding business here is through the roof, and there is no good hotel or late-night dining options in Western Albemarle. Afton is at the edge of Western Albemarle. Buy Waynesboro now. I love that, and I agree with him. I'm extremely bullish on Waynesboro. I think Waynesboro is going to offer an affordability solution. In fact, it's doing it right now. An affordability solution that Charlottesville and Albemarle County cannot replicate or duplicate. Charlottesville's freaking landlocked, guys. 10.2 square miles. The landlocked nature of Charlottesville is going to drive momentum behind lack of affordability in the city of Charlottesville. We all know that. Albemarle County, only 5% of Albemarle County, 5% of Albemarle County is allocated to development, commercial and residential. 5%. When you limit such a small sliver of Albemarle County to commercial and residential development, of course you're going to have affordability issues. Kevin Higgins, smart man, fan of the show. Kevin Higgins, I love when you comment on the program, sir. He says, when the inn at Afton is replaced, downtown Waynesboro will explode. The wedding business is booming here. All we need now is hotels and late-night dining options in Western Albemarle. Buy Waynesboro now. Andre Xavier. Ooh, Andre. Alex, you have a question from Andre Xavier. In fact, Erpies. Michael, love you, Michael. Nicholas, love you, Nicholas. Xavier, you know I love you, Xavier. Alex, love you, Alex. Mrs. Erpy, I'm dying to meet you, Mrs. Erpy. Andre Xavier would be a fantastic guest for Today Mañana. The Brazilian entrepreneur, Andre Xavier. He says this, so Alex, you have a question for you from Andre. Does Alex believe a recession is possible next year? I'm only asking because of inflation. Wells Fargo is canceling personal lines of credit. What is your opinion of a possible recession next year? Alex, I don't, you and Xavier and the Erpy family have carte blanche with anything you cover on your show. In fact, all the shows that are on our network, not the I Love CVille show, but all the other ones. Keith carte blanche, Patty carte blanche, Xavier, Alex carte blanche. We host and offer technical expertise and infrastructure. They have carte blanche what they're talking about. Andre's topic, is there an inflation next year potentially on the horizon? He references inflation. He references Wells Fargo canceling personal lines of credit. He says, what is your take, Alex, on a potential recession next year, 2022? Could be a great topic for today, Manana. You guys have carte blanche or whatever you want to cover. So just something to consider. Alex could answer that question better than I could. I will say this, and I've learned this from Keith Smith, that if a recession is on the horizon, and Alex and I have talked about this, what does it happen, Alex? Like every 10 to 12 years, there's a recession historically, right, Alex? You taught me that. And I'm not saying there is, if there's a recession on the horizon next year, I do not believe that it's going to be tied to real estate. I learned that from Keith Smith, the distinguished gentleman. 2008, the recession was undoubtedly tied to real estate. People were getting loans that should not have gotten loans. People were refinancing their home and essentially using their crib as a piggy bank because the prices of homes were going up so quickly they had massive equity right out of the gate. Eventually, the house of cards crumbled, and the United States, the proverbial you-know-what, hit the fan. Now, in 2021, that is not happening. There's significant restrictions on who can get loans and significant restrictions on using your house as a piggy bank and pulling money out of it. As a result, housing and real estate will not be the catalyst of a recession. What could be a freaking catalyst, and I hate to say this, what could be the catalyst is the collision of lack of labor, the collision of fuel prices upticking, the collision of labor costs upticking. So all at the same time, we have employees getting paid more, we have gas going up, and because of the pandemic, we have people changing careers altogether and or their positions being cannibalized by technology. A good example is the kiosks in a restaurant as opposed to a server or a cashier. You've seen these in some McDonald's, where McDonald's has you order through a kiosk instead of going to the register, and then you still pick up your food from a window. That's one way to sidestep $15 an hour labor at a restaurant. Another way to sidestep $15 an hour labor at a restaurant is eliminating front-of-the-house positions and doing pick up your food from a window and order at a register. Now, that takes away from the experience of going to the restaurant. It's the same reason this. You guys go to a grocery store, and when you're at a grocery store, you see the check yourself out lines, as opposed to going to the lanes or the lines that have a cashier. How many of you guys go to the checkout line? My wife loves the checkout line. Me personally, I go to the cashier line. I do not want to go to the grocery store to bag my own groceries. I do not want to go to a dinner date with my wife and go to a window and pick up my food. Now, that might be the future, grocery stores with just self-checkout lines so they don't have to employ cashiers at 15 Bs an hour, 15 bones an hour. Maybe that is the future of the grocery store business. Frankly speaking, I think the future of the grocery store business is not even in-person grocery stores. I think the future of the grocery store business is groceries delivered to you, or the Instacart model where the groceries are taken to your car as you wait out front. I don't think going into 200,000 square foot Wegmans that costs an arm and a leg to keep online is the future of the grocery store business. I think the future of the grocery store business is grocery stores targeting not Class A real estate, but affordable like Class C real estate, like warehouse space, having all the stuff organized, encouraging you to order the food through the internet on your computer or on your phone, and the food is literally delivered to your doorstep, and or you drive to the warehouse and the food is delivered to your trunk outside the grocery store. Think about the massive amounts of labor that would be saved, the massive amounts of rent that would be saved, the massive amounts of electric bill and utility bills that would be saved if you didn't need a 200,000 square foot, 100,000 square foot Class A Wegmans in Fifth Street Station. Instead, Wegmans was in this warehouse off the beaten path. You ordered the food through your phone, and the phone was dropped in your the food was dropped in your truck or dropped at your doorstep. That's the future of the grocery business. It's no secret why Uber is buying food delivery startups left and right. Uber is going to transform and revolutionize the delivery of food to you and me. Mark that down. The future of business to consumer interaction cannot be a labor-intensive model, a rental-intensive model, monthly rents, or a utility-intensive model, electric, HVAC, water, etc. There's just not enough margin in those businesses to accommodate the fuel costs going up, the labor costs going up, and the cost of goods getting up. The retailer is getting hammered so many different kinds of ways right now. It's a collision of increased overhead all happening at the same time. Labor, fuel, COGS, cost of goods. Good comment, Andre Xavier. Andre, we need to get you back on this show, my friend. You're a smart dude. Karen Skipper says, yes, she goes to the cashier line. I go to the cashier line as well. I just don't want to bag my groceries. I'm not going to the grocery store to bag my own groceries. You can call that bougie if you want. I don't go to the grocery store to bag my own groceries. My wife goes to the grocery store, and she would rather bag her own groceries because she thinks it's more efficient and she can organize the groceries as she wants, which I totally respect. I don't want to bag my own groceries at the grocery store. Karen says, hi, Jerry. I saw you were on and wanted to pop on and say hello. Karen, I love when you watch the show. I also read that Walmart was getting rid of cashiers and going to self-checkout. They have to. Thank you, Karen, for commenting. Karen, I'm a huge fan of you as well. The concept of paying someone 15 bones an hour to take your groceries, slide them over the scanner, and put them in a plastic bag, that is an archaic and outdated concept. I'm going to pay you $15 an hour. All you have to do is stand in front of this register. You have to take the lettuce. You have to take the milk. You have to take the bacon. You have to take the 3-Notch Minutemen. You have to take the Cheese Whiz and the Ritz crackers. You have to take the Cheez-It Grooves. You have to take the ice cream. You have to take the spirits, and you have to scan them, and you have to put it in a bag, and we're going to pay you 30 G's a year. 15 bucks an hour is 30 G's a year. That concept is about as archaic as the Yellow Pages, a Model T, and the telephone. The grocery business is going to be changed and transformed forever, and it's going to be because of all the SHIT that's resulted from COVID. Mark that down. Mark that down. More comments coming in. Let's get to some of these comments, J-Dubs. Oh, man, I promised you this was going to be a short show, Jude. I'm sorry. Oh, man. Alex is responding to Andre's question. Thank you, Karen. I appreciate you saying that. I'm a huge fan of you as well. Alex, this is the beautiful thing of social media when used for the good. Alex Erpe says, Andre Xavier, this is a fantastic question. In fact, I'm going to put it on our docket for Xavier and I to talk about at the open of Thursday show today, mañana at 10:15 a.m. Short answer is we see it as a highly possible, even from a timing standpoint, that we could have a recession next year. We are a decade removed from the last recession, but I think the genesis would not be what we have seen before or are looking at now. It hardly ever is. Jerry, you are spot on. Historically, about 10 years or so we are well past that from a recession standpoint. Alex adds, as long as businesses are looking for labor and means they are still looking to produce inventory, a key sign to look for, if inventories begin to pile up and companies seek to reduce inventories, then that's a recessionary sign. Well said, Alex Erpy. Gosh, Alex Erpy, I freaking love you, Alex Erpy. Emergent Financial Services. Dude, you want to build your wealth? Emergent Financial Services. Kevin Higgins says, you need a show on what Relay Foods could have been. Relay Foods was a grocery delivery business, and the concept was genius. The only problem with Relay Foods was they were too early to the market. They were too early. If Relay Foods launched in 2019, 2018, Relay Foods would be gangbusters right now because of COVID and the impact COVID has had on the grocery business, i.e. Instacart and food delivery. Because Relay Foods launched, 10, 12 years ago, it was first to market. And guess what? First to market often gets slaughtered. Friendster, MySpace. First to market. Friendster, MySpace. Third to market, Facebook. First to market, Relay Foods. Third to market, Uber, Delivery, Uber Eats, Instacart. Get it? First to market often gets slaughtered. Chef Jabari Wallington. Love Jabari, love Jabari, love Jabari. Retail has been getting hit hard and COVID just hit the fast forward button. Delivery and pickup is the future and restaurants will switch to pickup or even grab your food and sit down. It's more cost effective. Amen, homie. Jabari is A+ people. Love you, Jabari. I can't agree with the man more. Outside of fine dining, we learned this from Wilson Ritchie on Real Talk. Wilson Ritchie said, Charlottesville's most prolific restaurateur, that elevated fine dining, white tablecloth, cloth napkin, that will be your dining that has table service, and you're going to pay for it because you want to pay for the experience of being catered to, pampered. You want the pomp and circumstance that comes with dining in at a nice restaurant. So you're going to drop ducats to have a lady or a man treat you like a king or a queen. That category of restaurants will stay with the table service. The category that's 25 Bs a ticket, 25 Bs a cover, 25 bones a cover and under, that type of restaurant is not going to be able to sustain $15 an hour labor, increased fuel costs, which means cost of goods go up, and labor shortages. The 25 and under a cover restaurant is going to have to pivot and pivot quick. Mark it down. All right, that's the show. We got a conference call in 4 minutes. Andre says, thank you, Alex. I will be sure to watch the show on Thursday. Really appreciate your knowledge. Thursday at 10:15 today, Manana. That show is banging, guys. It's banging. It is absolutely banging. We are back tomorrow, Wednesday, on the I Love CVille show. Thank you for joining us on a beautiful and gorgeous day to be alive. I will save these topics for tomorrow. Pickleball booming across Central Virginia and the impact the Greencroft Club will have on pickleball, and the South Richmond Casino project has been delayed. We'll give you some insight into when the casino in South Richmond, the one that will be closest to us, when it will open, so we can go and play some table games and do some gambling, baby. All right, I'm out of here. I'm Jerry Miller, Judah Wickower, Alex Erpy. This is the I Love CVille show. You guys have a good afternoon.